Guys of a Certain Age is brought to you by no one. Absolutely no one. Except these dudes walking down memory lane. Now let's head to the studio to see what they misremember next.
It's the podcast that brings families together. It's Robbie Koblenz, Guys of a Certain Age, in studio alongside
Art Shirley,
the elder Mr. Shirley, joined by
Will Shirley,
the younger, well, the almost younger Mr. Shirley, because there's a younger Mr. Shirley.
Yeah, he's younger than me for sure.
Well,
yeah, that's right.
Most people are younger than
that's
you.
Actually, that's true. I think so. Yeah.
Statistically, isn't most of the population younger than you?
Boy, that's interesting. Yeah, I realized I was. I'll be in rooms at work and realize I'm the oldest person in this room.
So Bunny and I have gotten into playing pickleball, and we'll go out at the courts at night, and I'm usually by far the oldest person there.
Wow.
And I invoke that because I say, hey, kids, I am older than your parents. Go easy on me.
Hey, kids.
Yeah.
I'm older than your parents. Sorry, that was supposed to be Christopher Walken.
Fix to say that was need a little Fat Boy Slim music going along with that, So do you get the?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Yeah. Which song was that, Will, that he did? Fat Boy Christopher Walken did the music video.
Yeah, the dancing thing. It's incredible. I saw that just recently.
Yeah,
I've seen the video.
It wasn't
so many
Praise
times,
You.
but I can't remember the
wasn't
actual
Praise
song.
You. Let's see if I can find it. Christopher.
Was it not?
That wasn't Praise You.
Okay.
Fat Boy Slim. What was it?
This is what
Weapon of
happens when
Choice.
we. Okay.
Weapon of Choice.
Okay.
That's what it was. Yeah, which was great. He was a classically trained actor. I mean, dancer.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, it's time for Geeks of the Week. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first, I guess.
That's our shtick. Will hasn't listened to a show in years, so usually Jay's in that spot. Will, and I'll ask who wants to go first, and Art will always. Your dad will always jump in. Well,
unless I don't have one, and then I'll say, "Well, why don't you go first for a while?"
and sometimes
and then when I find that I interrupted,
oh yeah, I'm ready now. No,
yeah, it's okay.
Anyway, all right.
So anyway, David Cornsweet has already played Superman again, has a new role in James Gunn's DCU where he's playing Superman again already. And it's coming out when the digital release of Superman, the movie that just came out in July, comes out both digitally and on DVD and Blu-ray. And it's 4 animated short films. Krypto Saves the Day.
I was wondering, I just watched Krypto Saves the Day.
Yeah, they've got it on YouTube right now, the first of the 4. And so you could see that there. And so that's his second official role in the DCU as Superman, and Clark Kent too, I guess. We won't see the rest of them until the movie drops. I think it drops later.
The 15th?
In September.
August 15th. I thought it was August 15th.
Well, it's past. Oh, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, Superman.
I think you're
digital. Right. I'm usually right.
And now he's a geek in more regards than just Superman, right?
Oh
he's
my
a big
gosh,
Star Wars fan.
Big Star Wars fan. Can quote. There's a video.
August 15th.
Oh, so that's tomorrow as we record.
Yeah. So,
but no, he's a huge Star Wars fan and would love to be a Jedi in Star Wars. But he can quote. I think it's the trench run. Yeah, it's a trench run, and he's quoting it, and he's doing it from memory, but in real time because they sync it up with the video and show him do it, and he does all the stuff, including the, and then you got it, kid, blow this thing, let's get out of here.
That's wild.
He does all, and so he's very much into that. But
I got to watch.
There's also a scene of him that just came out recently where he is looking back at when Christopher Reeve in the second Superman movie, I think it's the second Superman movie, is going to tell Lois who he is. Maybe that's in the first one.
I'm Batman. Never mind.
Yeah. No, he goes, he takes off his glasses and says Lois, and his voice changed, and he does the whole thing. And he said, we didn't want to do that scene again because it had been done so perfectly, but he channeled that when he did the part where they're doing the interview, and you hear him talking kind of as Clark Kent, and then he goes, Miss Lane, So that's what he was kind of pulling there. But anyway, I really like Cornsweet as Superman and as Clark Kent.
I thought he was great.
Okay, and so that's mine.
Yeah, and on the topic of him playing Superman and Clark Kent, I saw that a lot of people complained, or maybe are hopeful for the next Superman movie that we get to see him as Clark Kent
a little more
than Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think would be a lot of fun because that gets to show his range as an actor, and also gets to see kind of his geekier side because
Yeah.
he knows both of these
And
characters.
he was one of the first Clark Kent Superman that really looked different as Clark Kent.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they really made him look different.
Well, what did you think about Superman? Well, we're,
I loved it. I went in hopeful, and I think that it was exactly what I wanted, exactly what I expected. A fun, pretty lighthearted, but also had its serious beats kind of Superman. And as far as how Superman was portrayed, going back to comic book resources, I was talking with a friend recently who saw, I think it was a Polygon article that was saying that James Gunn has been saying that he looked at Grant Morrison's Superman for All Seasons, or All-Star Superman. Which one was he?
All-Star. All-Star Superman.
yeah.
As a big influence on this movie. And the Polygon article is saying that they don't see that Grant Morrison's Superman is known for being almost too powerful. And then All-Star Superman is, the whole idea is him having to grapple with things that even as just a monster of a powerful superhuman, there are things that he can't do.
Yeah.
And then there's the question of, am I human or am I not? And then I think in All-Star Superman, he ends up saying, if I'm not a human, that doesn't mean that I can't, use my superhuman abilities to help other people.
Sure.
And then I
I
feel
need
like
to reread that.
Yeah, I need to too. It's been a long time. It's one of my favorite Superman comics.
Yeah, I've got the graphic novel of All-Star. Yeah, I don't have Superman for All Seasons, so
That's
It's
another
not
one of my favorites.
Man of Tomorrow. Superman of Tomorrow. That's a different one.
yeah, that's a different one. Man of Tomorrow was a completely different
Yeah,
one.
okay.
So I just want to see him flying around the world to make time go back. So, which we all thought was cool in 1978.
Yeah,
Now it's like Einstein does not approve. So neither does the doctor. So, yeah. All right. Cool. So, what is your geek of the week, young Mr. Shirley?
My geek of the week,
Oh, he has notes. Jay,
Oh,
he
Jay
has
would be so
notes.
proud.
Jay, you would be so
handwritten,
proud.
physical, analog notes here.
There's
in front
a
of me.
light there in that folding piece right there if you want to use it. I think Jay would.
Yeah. So you open it up. It's got a switch on the side. There you go.
need that.
There's the Jay cheat light.
Lovely.
Jay cheats in a lot of different ways.
The J beam.
The J beam. That's it. The J beam.
So my geek of the week is a bit of a misnomer for these folks because one, there are multiple geeks, and two, the story has been going on for almost 7 years now. But so my geeks of the week are Team Cherry, they're video game developers, and it's just 3 guys. Ari Gibson and William Pellin are mainly the design and story elements, with Jack Vine being the coder, and they blew up in popularity when they released Hollow Knight, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And the Hollow Knight's a Metroidvania, which means that you fight baddies, get upgrades to basically explore this big environment. And then if there's a locked door, you have to come back to it later. Once you get that power up, that unlocks the door. And the cool thing about their game Hollow Knight is that everything from the characters to the backgrounds are all hand drawn, hand painted, hand animated.
Wow.
And for a Metroidvania, which is high action per minute, to have such, there it is, yes,
I'm
to have
showing.
such smooth animation, it's just incredible. Especially for it to be done by hand.
Do you have that? Are you playing that?
Yeah, I've played it multiple times. My current playthrough is 111 out of 112% completed.
Wow.
I'm obsessed with the game.
Now you say Metroidvania. Is that Metroid?
Yeah, Metroid and Castlevania is kind of the combination there because
I gotcha.
both of these games are kind of the height of popularity, and maybe even the designers of this game genre. And the genre itself is you have a map that's not complete and you're going to explore it. And like I said earlier, it's you fight bad guys in the room, you fight a boss and get a power up, and now with that power up you can go back to the room that was locked previously, and then it kind of repeats that process.
Just like your everyday job at work.
That's right. That's right. this would not be an escapist thing for me.
No.
Too close to home.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But they are in the news. They've been in the news for the last 7 years because in 6 years, 2019, they announced their sequel or maybe prequel to Hollow Knight Silk Song, and everyone just lost their cool. Everybody's so excited about it, and then they kind of, for the last 6 years, have been on and off with little tiny announcements to complete radio silence. But I think it was last year or maybe 2 years ago, they had a new trailer come out, and this past week or so, it was confirmed they'll have a playable demo of Silksong at the Gamescom at the end of this month. And the developers have also said this game is coming out sometime between summer and the holiday season.
So my question is, does George R.R. Martin have anything to do with the studio?
Not at all.
Because of the delays.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, they also it was part of their approach to the delay of games helped shape the gaming industry in a way, and mainly the work environments. So around that same time, a lot of development companies were getting flack because they would just work their developers and programmers and such to the bone to try to get the game out as quick as possible, and then they'll fix things on the back end. The developers still, have to work tirelessly to finish this. Team Cherry and also Nintendo did this majorly. Said,
Oh, yes, they did.
yes, they were one of the ones that started changing it too, because they said, you know what, we want to make y'all a game that you're going to like from the start. And if that's going to take more time on our parts, then y'all are just going to have to wait.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what they did. And it doesn't make it makes a lot of sense to me because, again, they are just 3 people. They might have outside help with maybe the music design, sound design. And probably, I don't imagine just one guy is coding this, right? I bet they outsource some of the other coding stuff. But Geeks of the Week go to Team Cherry for me because they are finally, hopefully, seeing this game come to fruition. And this is also my sort of manifesting the release by putting it
out
on
there
a
and hope it's going to happen.
Yeah, with the clout that we have, it's bound to happen.
Or they're going to go in the exact opposite direction. Do you watch, Will, have you watched Mythic Quest on Apple TV Plus?
No.
I would highly recommend it.
What is that?
So it is a little bit of a spoof of a gaming company who they have their massive hit is an MMOG. Yeah, that's the correct acronym, right? MMOG, massive multiplayer, whatever.
Oh, MMORPG?
Yeah, that, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. That. Called Mythic Quest.
As opposed to like a one-person game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so it is a fictional game studio, and it's got a bunch of folks from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's hilarious. You need to watch.
He's recommended it to me as well. Maybe we watch that.
Your
It's
dad,
called what? Mythic Quest?
Mythic Quest. Your dad doesn't pay any attention to my recommendations.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. 6 years later. Oh, I watched this finally. It's
I
like,
just go, Robbie recommended this. Do we want to watch it? No, okay.
yeah, Rob McElroy and Charlie Day created it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And McElroy stars in it, and it's hilarious.
And
it's got
how many
Danny Putty in
seasons? How many seasons?
4 seasons. They're working on the 5th and final.
Oh, so, okay. And how
Danny
many? About 8
Putty's in it.
episodes? 10 episodes?
8 to 10
Yeah,
a
okay.
season, about half an hour long.
So not a big investment.
You recognize people, Will?
Yeah. Like I said, Danny, I guess it's Putty or Pooty from Community's in it.
F. Murray Abraham, Solitary himself.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, David
man.
Hornsby
You
is
want
in
to check
it.
that out.
And then Ashley Birch is a really famous video game voice actor. So it's cool to see her in there too.
Yeah. It is hilarious. Once you start it, you won't be able to stop. And it kind of makes fun of, but there's a lot of brutal truth in the way that it's perceived. So, but yeah, Mythic Quest, I would highly recommend it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna give you a clue to my geek of the week.
Oh, I know what it is. Yes.
If you recognize that sound, you probably got something in the mail with the CD-ROM or a floppy disk, and you subscribe to America Online.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yes, very well.
That's a 14.4 modem, 14.4K modem. You know, trying to connect to the Ethernet.
Yeah.
So the interwebs, America Online, or excuse me, AOL, because it hasn't been America Online for a long time, announced this week that all good things must come to an end, and one of those good things, or bad things, depending on where you are, is dial-up internet. They are discontinuing their dial-up service. So, you know, remember back in the day, you knew you were in a metropolitan area when you had local banks of AOL modems to dial into.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise you'd have to do a long-distance call, which you would get hammered for long-distance fees, as well as usage fees, as well as, I think you got, 100 minutes a month or something on AOL.
Yeah, you got, there was definitely a cap to how long you could be on there. And of course, you know, downloading anything, just even the smallest file, would take 30 minutes. You know,
if that's short. So, according to the Census Bureau from 2023, 163,000 households in America were still using dial-up access.
Wow.
That's 0.13% of all homes with internet subscriptions. So,
do you know if Jay still had it?
Probably does. So, but dial-up's going away.
Yeah, that's something else. Does AOL still have a presence otherwise? Do the email addresses still work?
Yeah, I mean, there's still folks with AOL email addresses that I will email from time to time, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
it's wild to think about.
I don't even know who owns AOL. Yeah. Excuse me. Verizon bought it. Time Warner bought it, then Verizon bought it, and then Verizon has sold AOL and Yahoo to a private equity firm.
Okay.
So, and can you imagine Yahoo and AOL are just also rans 20 years ago?
They were the thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not it's not if you fall, it's when you fall.
That's right.
And that happens in all facets of life.
That's right.
You know, so, but,
that's something. That was really, like I said, I had no idea it was even still around.
Yeah. Most of us haven't. Mm-hmm. So I almost feel like trying to.
The last person I remember having it was an across the street neighbor of ours, and this has probably been 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. And she would love to play bridge online. And she never could get the bandwidth wasn't enough. And so I kept trying to find a way that I could just share my internet with her across the street. So, because I would have to go over there, and just a real sweet, lovely woman and everything. And then I said, just either get a different type of internet account, or just let's see if we can figure out a way you can log on as a guest of mine for a while.
So you should have just strung an Ethernet cable across.
Yes, that actually came to mind.
So years ago, when I had one of my first offices downtown, we were on the block basically where Starville Cafe is, and 2 buildings down was a high-tech startup, and they had a T1 line.
Wow, yeah.
And so we actually tried to figure out a way to run Ethernet from them across the rooftop into our building. Mm-hmm. The thing that got us was the possibility of an electrical imbalance lightning strike. So
seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Of course, at that point, a T1 line was like 10 megabits or something.
But it was like amazing. It's supposed to be just really fast.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Yeah. So, but anyway, times have changed. Yep. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to go into a dungeon up next. All right, we're back. We finally got Will Shirley in. We've talked about this for a long time. We're going to talk Dungeons and Dragons, as opposed to Dentures and Dragons, which is what Siri interpreted my message to Art as. And
trademarked. More on that later.
Yeah. A role-playing game for old geeks,
that's right.
is what it is. So that could be our merchandise. That we should do some T-shirts.
Oh, I've already thought about that. That's why I was taking a picture of the cover. Yeah, no, that's happening. That is happening.
That's
our
maybe
y'all's Christmas presents.
That may be our merch.
That could be, absolutely. That'd be
Dungeons
great.
and Dragons. So
I'm telling you, shoot, come up with a game. Make the game our merch.
that's what we should do.
Yeah. You could just do a homebrew sort of thing and then just put a lot of penalties.
Oh, we'll put Jay on the homebrew.
Oh no, we won't. So going through, I mean, I've got a whole stack of D&D stuff, and Will plays D&D as well. But going through some of my old files, I came across some of the role playing games a buddy of mine and I tried to come up with in the early '80s. We had one called the Age of Runes, RUNES, that we called Taor for short, and we had this whole elaborate system. And then we kind of tried to pivot it into a Narnia, C.S. Lewis, Pilgrim's Progress type of thing, where instead of experience points, you'd have like treasure in heaven, and you would be fighting demons and all this. And it was it got weighted down pretty quick because we're a bunch of teenagers, have no idea what we're doing, but it was kind of fun.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
It was kind of cool back in those days. Yeah. So, but we need to do a Dentures and Dragons.
Yes, absolutely.
Or I left my dentures in the dungeon. So, what dungeon did I leave my dentures in? So, but anyway, Will, I mean, your dad's never played. I haven't played in years, but I have this whole stack of D&D stuff, memorabilia. Talk about how you got introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, and how often you play, or when was the last time you played, yada yada yada.
Well, it has been probably it may have been since COVID that I've played, which has been a long time, it feels like. But I started in early high school. Somebody in my youth group brought like a 3.5e essentials kit sort of thing that had its own campaign. It had a map. It even had little figurines, which you don't see very much in a lot of essential kits these days, or starter kits. And I had no idea what it was. Never heard of Dungeons and Dragons at that point, but I just thought the miniatures were really cool. So I don't know if we really got past, our first encounter with a baddie. But I was always a video game fan since an early age, and I thought it was really neat to kind of experience a video game from a more analog perspective. And the fact that we're the ones crunching the numbers to make things happen just always felt really cool to me. And so I really didn't seriously play it until college, around the time 4 came out. And everyone has problems with 4. And in hindsight, I see why. But when it came out, that was my first real sort of taste of D&D. I played with friends in the dorm. That was my first character that I actually made from top to bottom was a tiefling scion. And I don't think scions even exist anymore.
I am definitely playing the role of Jay here today.
So tiefling is the devil-looking guys that have horns on their heads, but they're really interesting to role play because they're often lumped in with demons and devils, which are their own separate things. And tieflings are like, well, we just look like them, and we might have similar ancestry, but we're more human than anything, or more, I guess, common than anything. And so they're kind of an outcast society, but they're also entertainers. I think they work well as bards or charisma guys, right? So
wow, it's come a long. The basic set has come a long way from back in my days. But
it was fun. I remember our 4E campaign fell apart pretty quickly, mainly because we had one guy in there who just refused to really play the game. And that's its own thing. You can play the game a whole lot of different ways, but if you're in a session with 3 other guys that want to play it this way and you're not playing it, your way of playing is just counterintuitive to our way of playing, then it's just not going to work out. And then that's kind of what happened. So we ended up pivoting to other TTRPGs, tabletop role-playing games.
Thank you.
And including a homebrew of Call of Cthulhu, and then later I played a homebrew of Vampire the Masquerade that was set in real New Orleans. And that was really neat because I could my character would walk past streets and stores that I've been to in real life, and that was really neat.
And you can use Concrete Blonde's Bloodletting album as the soundtrack.
There we go.
So homebrew, you mentioned that before. What does that mean?
Homebrew is basically you start with a game model like Dungeons and Dragons, and then you kind of tear it apart and reassemble it in your own way.
Tweak it.
Okay.
You're just tweaking it.
So you're taking that shell of Dungeons and Dragons and superimposing your own.
It could be as
world
mechanics.
or
it could be worlds. A lot of times, homebrews refer to the mechanics of the game specifically. So a homebrew D&D thing might say that a magic missile spell affects the target differently, or maybe magic missiles not allowed at all. A good example of a homebrew rule might be that even if your character is a character that can fly, like an Aarakocra, I think they're what they're called, like a bird type person.
Okay.
How you doing over there, Jay?
I feel like it's a different language.
It is. So,
but a homebrew might say that flying a player character that can fly breaks the game to the point where I just can't control, as a DM, I can't control the game as well as I can. So we're just going to homebrew flying out of there.
And DM is the dungeon master.
So, all right, I'm going to take a step back and talk a little bit about the origins of D&D.
The Satanic Panic.
Yeah, exactly. But that's so. It's funny you mentioned homebrew because Dungeons and Dragons was started as a homebrew version of really the first initial fantasy role playing game, Chainmail.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, and I vaguely remember Chainmail. It was it was Gary Gygax as well, and they were part of this Lake Geneva Tactical Studies Association. And so hobby shop owners, what they would, folks who would go to hobby shops, they would get the little figurines and paint them, because you have to remember, this is early 70s. This is 71, 72, 73, late 60s. Tolkien had happened. Tolkien was about the only fantasy out there that was widely prevalent.
Yeah.
You could get a Jack Vance or a Edgar Rice Burroughs. There's a variety of things you could get, but there was hardly any fantasy out there, so you kind of had to make do.
Yeah.
And so Chainmail was like the first role-playing game, and then Gygax and who was his co-author? Dave Arneson, who never gets talked about. They developed the Dungeons and Dragons, the original tabletop system, in 1974, and it was just this kind of loose typed bunch of rules that was based on Chainmail, and it had all the trademarks of fantasy role playing, right? So there's been a variety of sets, and Will, you're talking about V4 or 4E rather. So the original was published in 74. So it's been 51 years since Dungeons and Dragons was published. So think about that.
Yeah.
So, and Gygax, and I think probably Dave Arneson was part of this. There was Tactical Study Rules, Inc., TSR, which became TSR Workshop, which is what published Dungeons and Dragons. You'll see TSR on the back of these books here. There's I've got a variety of books. Where is, see the little wizard, TSR Games.
Yeah, I remember that.
So TSR was kind of a popular publisher, and they came out with the basic set in 77. And what you've got in your hands right now, Will, is the basic set. It's not the original, but it was the first widely mass marketed Dungeons and Dragons rulebook, and came out in 77, first version, and it has the basics of creating a character, the different characteristics, strength, intelligence, dexterity, all those things. And what you do in Dungeons and Dragons, you have players, you have dungeon masters. Dungeon masters are kind of the ominous voice in the sky who knows where the players are going. He's created this fantasy environment. He or she has created this fantasy environment. He's guiding the players in the party through and describing where they're going to, the monsters coming at them. Then the party, the characters have to decide, are we going to attack? Are we going to retreat? If you've got a wizard, which was known as a magic user back in the days because wizards were evil, you would roll a die. You had, 6 different dice, correct? Yeah, and to gauge how much damage was done, how much damage you got. So you had an element of randomness there, and it could be a lot of fun. I learned to play D&D in a talented and gifted class in 6th grade, which was 82, 83, because Dungeons & Dragons was coming to the forefront as a creative means of expression, and just really loved the world building. So you had the basic set in 77. They decided you needed to add a few more things, complicated a little bit. You have the expert set, or advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Well, you had the expert set in 77, which was an addendum to the basic. Then they created advanced D&D, AD&D as we called it, which was even a wider universe with more rule books. The original, I'm picking it up now, the original D&D was maybe 48 pages. That was the original rule book. 48 pages front and back. Wow. Just basically nothing. You see how ragtag it is.
We wondered about the 3-hole punch on the outside of it.
I don't know what the story was for that. And that may not be my original. I may have picked that up from somebody. Anyway, so then you did Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Then they redid the basic set in 81 and 83. AD&D had a revision in 89, and then they consolidated everything in 91 with the Rule Cyclopedia. Well, as D&D was growing, you had Magic the Gathering starting to happen with Wizards of the Coast.
Right.
And Magic just has a little bit of that role-playing feel. I've never played Magic. I've seen it played. Did you play Magic, Will?
I've played it once or twice, but not much. I want to, but I don't want to buy cards.
Oh, it's so much money. It could be so much money. Yeah. But you had that fantasy element, and so Magic the Gathering became huge, and so Wizards of the Coast bought D&D, and they decided to strip it down, and then that's when you had the 3rd edition in 2000. You had the 3.5 version, the 3.5 edition in 2003. They rewrote everything for 4th edition in 2008, which folks hated. And then they did the 5th edition in 2014, which most folks liked. And in honor of the 50th anniversary, they did the revised 5th edition. And so basically what's happened is this whole system has gotten more complex. You've added more players. You've added more monsters. How do you handle certain physical attributes? The whole kit and caboodle. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's absolutely.
How many people typically play a game?
So it kind of can vary, but typically what most dungeon masters or game masters aim for is excluding the DM, having around 4 to 5 players is a good full group, and a lot of times 4 is kind of the magic number. But you can play it with 1 player and a DM, and a lot of times the DM or the model itself will have little tools to make a 1-player experience more manageable. Like my Essentials kit includes sidekicks, which are little characters pre-made that you just kind of can insert in. So if it's just you, the DM, and the player, this player can kind of run into these sidekicks that are, I don't know how they work exactly, in that I believe the GM kind of role plays them, but the player decides what they do, like in battle or
insert
outside.
Jay joke here.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, Jay. We're going to see if you're actually listening.
So, and how long does it take to play? I mean, it's like something. The reason I ask is because that's what you hear. It goes on forever.
It can.
And is a game a campaign, or is a campaign part of a game, or is it
a campaign? Is is basically a sequence of events for a complete fantasy adventure. So you could have a campaign in the Forgotten Realms universe, which D&D has a variety of, you've got Dragonlance, you got Forgotten Realms, you got Baldur's Gate, whatever. And so you are giving your party, your team, this overarching quest that may take you to multiple locations. And so in Doctor Who Poor Lance, if we're talking about the key to time, where you're having to get the 6 pieces of the key of the time that makes the entirety of a season, that's kind of like a campaign.
Okay, so that would be one campaign.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, each key would not be a separate campaign.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
No.
Okay, that's good.
I mean,
but it could be, I guess. But
right, Will, is that?
Yeah, my understanding of a campaign is sort of the whole narrative, and a lot of times that can take multiple sessions to complete. A session being, the one time you get together and play, and sessions can take anywhere from an hour to 3 or 4 hours.
What determines the end of a session?
If you can kill everybody soon enough.
Okay.
Or just like really combat beats or story beats.
Yeah.
Really,
Okay.
if you where you would want to end a chapter in a book, or where you'd want to end an episode of a TV show is kind
Does
of
the
where
DM determine that?
It's collaborative, really.
Yeah. Okay.
DM.
This is really interesting.
Yeah. I think the more would know about it, the more you'd like to play, and I think you'd like to be the DM. If I were to guess,
You probably would. So think of individual game sessions as episodes, and the campaign is the season.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it for me. Yeah.
So it could be a 5-episode season. It could be 23.
Yeah, gotcha.
I mean, did you ever play a game of Risk that went on for days?
That's exactly what a lot of people that I knew that played Dungeons and Dragons had played Risk at one time.
Yeah.
And so I think there tended to be a natural evolution from, Risk as opposed to Monopoly or whatever. But typically the Risk mindset kind of seemed to me to fit with the Dungeons and Dragons.
That's right.
And it was an extension of that. Okay, well, we've done this, but we can actually take it down to a character level.
That's right. Okay. That's right.
So, and then do you have a character that you take from one game to another, or do you create different characters when you play?
it depends. I've actually wrote a list of all the characters that I've made over the years. Not even all of them, but
and that's a long list.
I've made a handful, and I think I'm trying to remember if I don't think I've played a single one of these more than once, but I have a lot of friends. Dylan he has made one character every single time, or made one character and stuck with it every single time. It's a warlock, and he just loves warlocks for some reason.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe. And we get into, species and classes, and it's species now, not race anymore. Although I don't think I think that's kind of a lateral move. They did it for, inclusion. But it still feels weird.
And then character alignment, which I always loved.
Yeah.
What is that?
So basically, you can play the villain or you can play the hero, and so you have this whole
in between.
Oh, I saw this. It's almost not a Venn diagram, but it's kind of
It's
similar to
almost
what
a
you're
Venn
showing.
diagram.
I want to see an old.
So hold on. So you have lawful good, chaotic evil, and lawful evil. I'm gonna hand it over to Will.
Oh,
and then you have neutral in the middle. So you can be Switzerland in the middle.
But unlike a Venn diagram, this doesn't connect at any point.
So so a paladin who is or a cleric is going to be lawful good, right?
Okay, I gotcha.
Because they walk above the straight and narrow.
Okay.
A thief could be chaotic good, or lawful
with a heart of
evil.
gold.
Yeah. Or and so you just got what's the elf characters that are kind of half elf. Not whites. What are they called? There's Barrow. No, I'm thinking of something else.
You're not thinking of like dark elves.
Maybe dark elves. It would be so you could have all this variation within, and so not only do you have your physical attributes, your intelligent attributes, but you've got your alignment attributes as well.
Okay.
And that all comes down
that's
to
very
like
fascinating.
it almost makes it to where you have a quantifiable piece of a qualitative design. So,
Ooh, nice.
because half of D&D is you're role playing a character, and if you can't get into the mind of the character, well, now you have this neat little chart that you can say, okay, well, my character's, like you said, a paladin or a rogue. They have or not a rogue, a paladin or a cleric. A paladin's whole thing is that they're big, tanky healers. They have devoted their life to a god that they've chosen, and so they're lawful by their religion's laws, and they're good by their religion's morals, and they won't have it any other way.
Okay.
And
so the parameters for that character are already set.
Yeah, I mean, you can,
Well, the basics are, but you're going to roll dice to see how strong you are.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to create a score. I was looking to see
so is there a conflict when you roll dice? Is there something that happens and you're going, I'm in this situation and I've got to see what strength I have to.
That's the whole reason you roll dice, especially. So there's, what are they called? Not skills.
Attributes, talents, or
I think ability checks is what they're called. So you'll have strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, charisma, intelligence. Yeah, that's it. The 6. And those decide what skills you have, how good you are at those skills. Skills can be something from animal handling to deception to sleight of hand, things like that. And so what you're doing is, let's say you have a bard character. A bard is in combat sort of a support role. He can give his friends boons, and he can give curses to his enemies and things like that. But they're charisma driven, and charisma works really well in the role playing situation. With charisma being high, you could do stuff like rolling for deception. And so let's say in a role playing situation, the bard is talking to a non-player character, and they're trying to, let's say it's a guard, and they're trying to get into this prison, and they don't have any business being there. So the bard might say, "Oh no, I'm the new transfer," and the DM will then ask, "Okay, roll a deception check," and so they'll roll the dice, add their modifier bonuses, and so forth, and then that kind of decides whether or not the non-player character believes them, essentially.
How do you keep up with all this?
You have a lot of notes. So ability score. So I'm looking at 4E, which is the version that came out in 2008. Strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, which Will said. And so I think some folks will roll for those, and you're rolling, is that 3d6? What are you rolling?
We do. I did this just this weekend, actually. You can roll 4d6 and then add the highest 3 numbers, and then you do that 6 times. And so you have, what I like to do is there's a standard number array that you can use: 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. And then you can just put those where you want them instead of having to roll. And I think some people also do just a skill pool or a number pool. So whatever the total of those numbers I just listed are, you can just take whatever you want and put it into whatever spot.
Because you're trying to get aptitudes in those 6 areas to match the type of character you want. Yeah. So if you're doing a warrior, you want higher strength and higher dexterity. Higher constitution. If you want to be a thief, you want higher dexterity and intelligence. Okay. Is what you're trying to do.
But am I rolling against you, or am I rolling against some
You're not
character?
rolling anybody. You're just creating your character.
Okay.
That's when. A Dungeon Master is going to create the adventure, decide where you're going to go. You've got to do your homework by creating your character, and so there's sheets you can go through that you're going to fill out.
Okay.
That you get some check
boxes. Brought some.
Yeah, I should.
So you don't come into this and decide this on game day.
Well, you can. That's what I did last week. Is really we had a session 0 is kind of what they call it, which is where everyone gets together and decides.
Okay, gotcha.
Kind of parameters
so
of
it's
the
kind
game.
of like a pregame kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a meet and greet sorts.
Yeah.
And you create your character, and then you introduce your character to the team, and then you say, "Oh man, we have a lot of squishy characters. Does anybody want to be a tank of some sort?"
Think of it as a fantasy draft party.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So you come in and you kind of decide
fantasy football draft, not fantasy D&D draft.
Yeah. It's really it's a different meaning in this context.
But in the basic edition, they also have stock characters that you can just
That's
start
what I wondered.
with.
So, I mean, for somebody coming to this, there are presets or stock characters, like you said, so you can come in and say, okay, this is it, and you can kind of learn the dynamics of the game that way. Is that right?
That's what I would recommend for a lot of newcomers that are playing the game strictly for the game. Listeners might not know that one of the reasons I'm getting into this a lot is because I'm wanting to run a support and therapy group.
So talk about that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to have you do. Maybe we wrap this up.
We didn't plan that segue, and it worked so seamlessly.
So we never
Don't give
planned
away the secrets.
anything on this show.
But yeah, so what I want to do when I run one of these support groups is I will have them make the character from start to finish. Of course, I'll help them.
Well, hold on. Back up. Describe to the listener what you're doing professionally now.
Yeah. Okay. So
60-second elevator pitch.
First and foremost, I am a counselor at Resilient Life Counseling in Starkville, Mississippi. Hit us up. Shout out.
You're welcome, William. I'll send you an invoice for that. You're now a sponsor of Guys of a Certain Age, whether you realize it or not.
And I have a friend in Utah who was my DM for a long time, and now he's like a school counselor, and he runs a D&D after school club sort of support kind of group that has grown into 70 students strong, which is just amazing. And there's been some research on how tabletop RPGs can lend to a support or therapy group environment, and the main things that come down to it, that it comes down to, are the ability to role play and sort of explore thoughts and feelings and behaviors that you might not otherwise get to explore because you're working in a certain framework.
You're taking on another character's persona so you can explore them that way.
Yeah. But the cool thing about it is that there's always what's known as bleed in and bleed out. So bleed in is your
different terms for what we might think.
Bleed in is where your part of yourself comes into your character.
Yeah.
And bleed out is where part of your character comes into yourself. And that's kind of where the
therapy
growth
lies.
Yeah. So let's say I'm running a group with people who have social anxiety, and they make a character who is trying to get over social anxiety. Simple enough, 1-to-1. I might put them in a tavern and say, "There's a cute waiter or something," and they, then it's up to them to I describe the situation, then they kind of do what they want. Now, before all of this, it's been decided what their growth goals are, their therapeutic goals are, who their character is, and kind of how those play together. And so if I see them maybe standing up and going to talk to the person they want to talk to, I might reward them with what's known as a point of inspiration, which is like a little bonus that you can use. A lot of times people just use it as if you use your point of inspiration, you get an advantage on a roll, which means you can roll your D20 twice and take the higher number or the better number in the situation. And so kind of rewarding them for acting on the values that they have established that they want to act on. And then, so that's one of the main kind of tenets of applied game master theory. The other one that's really neat is, and this goes back to research done in the 90s, right around the Satanic Panic of the 80s. Very limited research in Dungeons and Dragons at that time, of course. But what this person found was that it was helpful in that the players work in 3 different frameworks. Frame 1 is the actual player in the real world, which we all just work through in our day-to-day. Frame 2 is the mechanics of the game, and the parameters of the game, what you can and can't do. And then frame 3 is the player, or the player character. And so how all of these intermingle is kind of what keeps it from being a complete enmeshment with the player and their character. They can see that there's 3 different layers of reality here. And the frame 3 is not reality, but we can learn things to take into our reality. And the book I'm reading by Dr. Megan Connell, which is called, I think, Applied GM, a really boring name. Sorry. But
that's funny.
What it mentions, it gives a really good example of working through all these three frames in one sentence that a player might say, and the player might say, my character slashes at this beast. I'm going to roll my D20 plus my bonuses to see if I hit. And Jordan, could you pass the chips? So in those three, you have the frame three, which is what is the player doing, or what is the player character doing? What are their motivations? Frame two is how is he doing it within the mechanics of the game? He's rolling the dice. He's adding his modifier bonuses. And then frame one is what is the actual player doing? Well, he's hungry.
Heavy the chip. It's
very interesting.
He's
It really
much
is.
smarter than you are.
He is. Yeah, that's right.
I think he got that from his
They
mother.
probably
right?
did. Yeah, that's right. They got it from me. That's why I don't have any left.
There you go.
All right, that's fascinating. So we're going to have to wrap up here because we're close to an hour without Jay, which is pretty fascinating.
So he talks all the time.
He does all the time. So remind me to tell you off mic about Bonnie and I playing Jay in pickleball.
It finally happened.
It happened. And it happened multiple times. So anyway, I would love to get a game up locally, just something fun to do at Louisville one night. We need to talk about that off mic. But I would love to visit with you once you get your therapy group up and running. Just the mechanics of that and the results that you see using Dungeons and Dragons. We didn't even talk about the Satanic Panic. I'd love to do an episode on the Satanic Panic at one time.
Yeah.
So, but how being able to use proxies as stand-ins for real life actually helps with therapy for folks to work through problems.
Yeah.
That would be fascinating.
Yeah, I think it would be too.
Be happy to talk about it.
So,
all right.
Wow. Okay, so I guess that does it for us this time around. So shame. Let's see. Is this going to work? Hey, it's going to work. Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, head over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast from. Give us a review. We could blast us, but give us 5 stars, please. We'll see you next time around.